everyone. I am at another local park. Today I am looking for elderberry and possibly chicory. I'm not going to collect the chicory yet. It's better if you do it in the fall. But in the fall they may not have their flowers, so I want to just kind of check out right now where they are at so I'll remember later. But anyhow, I was sitting here looking around, doing whatever, and like always, I've been thinking of Paul. And so I thought, well, I wish you guys knew him better. I wish you knew him the way that I knew him. And so I thought, why not give you a little insight as to who Paul was. So, Paul was born and raised in northern Illinois, kind of in a small town, so he enjoyed a lot of stuff that you would do there, like riding dirt bikes, hunting, and especially fishing. He had friends. He liked hanging out with his friends, of course, like all teenagers and kids do. But I found over the years that Paul had friends wherever he went. Paul really liked talking to people. And he really liked to hear what they had to say, things about their lives, where they're from, just all kinds of stuff. So, as he got older, he worked on a mink farm. That was in his late teens, and he really enjoyed it. And they provided an apartment for him, utilities paid, everything, in addition to his income. So, he was having a pretty good time, I guess. I wasn't with him, but he said he really liked it. And it was a couple of years after that he ended up married and having his first child, which is his daughter, Melissa. And I believe after that was when he got more into doing drywall, because Paul was a drywaller by trade, but he could do a lot of other things too. And he was down in Texas. Paul lived in two places in Texas. El Paso was one of them, which he really enjoyed. He loved it there. And then Houston. Didn't like that so much. I think it was just, too big, too many people, and the humidity. Who likes humidity? But anyhow, it was, I think Melissa was a few years old when he decided to join the Army. So, he was in the Army for just shy of 10 years. And right after his son Kyle was born, he was stationed in Germany, and he lived there for 4 years, and he loved it there, absolutely loved it. But he was in a lot of different countries. He was, driven. He wanted to get up the ranks and everything, and I can't remember all his ranks or like what he did. I know he was a warrant officer for a while, but one of the things I remember him talking a lot about was when he was with the Order of St. Barbara. I believe that's when he was jumping out of airplanes. And he was part of some group where if trouble arose, they could be anywhere in the world within 24 hours or less. And something like that did happen, I guess, in North Korea. There was a lot of problems with North Korea, and they were getting ready to declare war. So Paul and his buddies dropped down onto the border in less than 24 hours. They were there in South Korea. But I didn't pay attention to world politics back then. And he had said that we sent Jimmy Carter over there to talk to their president, and that calmed things down. But Paul stayed in South Korea for quite some time, and he liked it there too. He had a few fun stories to tell me about that. He also was in Saudi Arabia for a while, longer than he would have liked, and he didn't like Saudi Arabia very much. He was in Desert Storm. He worked on the Patriot missile system, and I think he was in Saudi Arabia for a year or a little bit longer, and he may have also been in Kuwait. I'm not sure I'm remembering it correctly. But he really liked talking about his buddies in the Army, and he would drag out those pictures and tell me everybody's names, and always had some kind of funny story to talk about, or just things that they did together during their time off. And he really had a love for those guys and some girls, and it was always nice when he would do that. He'd bring out pictures and he'd show me all his medals and certificates and all of that. He was very proud of the time he served in the Army. And then he eventually got out. While he was still in, he and his first wife got divorced. And when Paul got out of the service, I don't think it was too long after that he remarried, and that's when he had Brianna and Michael. He was very much into drywall then, working all the time. Sounded like life was pretty good at the, but again, he ended up getting divorced. His wife left, went to another state. He got custody of Brianna and Michael, and that's how I came to raise them. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little here. He continued on with drywall. Before, he was more around the Madison area, which is more south central Wisconsin, but he ended up coming more towards the Milwaukee area, so he could be closer to his dad, who lived in southern Wisconsin, very southeast, and then his mom, who still lived in northern Illinois, because both of those people, both of his parents, would help to take care of the kids if need be. And he was doing drywall in that area too, and this time, instead of doing it for himself, he was working for a company. And that is eventually how I came to meet him, because he was my brother-in-law's boss, and my brother-in-law set me up with him basically. But in between that time, he also lived in Pennsylvania, and he was working with his dad on a farm out there, and I believe his father owned that farm. And Paul loved so much stuff outdoors, and he would go hunting a lot with his dad, especially when he was young, and he had really a lot of fond memories of doing that. And Paul loved to talk. He could talk your ear off. He would sit and talk with his dad for hours, or we'd go and visit his mom down in Arkansas, and the two of them would just catch up for hours and hours and hours. And I was really glad he had that time with them the way that he did. And Paul had a really good sense of humor. I feel a dorky sense of humor, because he loved hearing and retelling some of the most corniest jokes you ever heard in your life. I remember when we were still in the cabin, I was in the bedroom, but I heard him do one of his super hearty, deep laughs. I'm like, what's so funny, Paul? Oh, come here, you gotta see this, you're gonna love it, you're gonna love it. And it was such a dumb meme on Facebook, but he just thought it was so hilarious. So much of the time, the things that he thought was funny, I didn't. But the kids can all tell you, like a typical dad, he loved to tell them old corny jokes, and he just thought they were hilarious. And Paul was also a very generous person, always asking people if they needed anything, volunteering, services, stuff, a place to stay, all the time. You know, he really was one of those people who never really thought of himself. And that also made it kind of hard to buy gifts for him come Father's Day or Christmas or whatever. But, you know, it was just, it made him happy, I guess, to make other people happy. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, he wasn't perfect. There were times when he got angry, and that was not a fun time at all. But it was few and far between, you know, and he had a great sense of adventure. And that's why we would travel as much as we could. I mean, we're out of the country a couple times, but it wasn't too expensive for us to do that. And most of the time when we would travel, I really mean, you know, to places we could drive to or stay at a bed and breakfast, stuff like that. But he was really good with that, wanting to see new places and do new things. He loved raising animals. He was always trying to think of different animals to raise and how would it work, you know. And I remember one of the last things he wanted to raise was swans. Are you crazy? Do you know how expensive it is even just to get the eggs? And no, I'm not raising swans. At one time he wanted to raise tarantulas, and I'm like, nope, put my foot down on that one. Oh, and there was another time, yuck, he wanted to raise these really big cockroaches. Not doing it. What if I did it out in the garage? No, 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 no. But because he was like that, always wanting to try new things, do new things, he was always so incredibly encouraging to me. And if I wanted to do something, and he may not fully understand it or whatever, but he always encouraged me to do it. He'd always find reasons for me to do it. You know, I'd come up with an excuse or something saying, oh no, this won't work because of that or this. And he'd find ways where it would work, or he'd help me. And that was so wonderful. I can't even begin to tell you, especially in today's day and age, to have someone, a partner, just always telling you, you can do it, and you know, if you need help, I'll be there, and we'll do it together, or whatever, you know. And geez, I miss him so much, because we've seen a lot of things eye to eye. Not everything, of course, but we had similar dreams, very similar dreams. The things we wanted to do were very similar, and you know, it really was like a best friend, because with your best friend, you're friends for years, because, you know, you have a lot in common and you enjoy the same stuff. And that was me and Paul, and we had a good time. We really did. You know, I could get more uptight and anxious and whatever, and he'd always be able to chill me out. It'll be okay, don't worry about it, this is fine. Just laugh a little, come sit by me, let's go do this, let's go do that. Oh no, Paul, it won't work. Oh no, Paul, we probably shouldn't spend the money. Oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. And yeah, that's pretty much who Paul was. Just a really great guy that people like to be around. He was thoughtful and kind and generous and funny in his own way. He would like to know that I said he was funny. We all miss him still, and I can't wait to be with him again someday. And maybe a little bit of him comes out in some of his videos. I know recording the videos sometimes made him really nervous because he wasn't used to it, and it took me years to not be nervous being in front of the camera, and there's still plenty of times that I am, so I cut him some slack with that. But he also liked helping people, so that's why he was always good with doing the videos. So I don't know, maybe I'll put a couple links down below. You could check out a few of his videos. Maybe you'll see a little bit of the Paul that I always knew. Anyhow, thanks for spending this time with me, you guys. I really appreciate it. And it was nice talking to you. You take care.